part of 88 Films' continuing series finally being released over here in the US of Blu-rays of classic Hong Kong or Chinese cinema. And when I say classic Chinese cinema, I'm talking about kung fu movies. I love kung fu movies. I can't get enough of them, especially the classic 70s, of which is what I'm about to talk about. The Chinese Boxer from 1970, released as The Hammer of God in the US, but Chinese Boxer is the title I think this is mostly known by everywhere else in the world. Stars Jimmy Wang Yu, a man who started in The Man from Hong Kong, a fun Australian movie from director Brian Trenchard Smith, and featured the song Sky High. But we're not talking about that movie. Anyway, Jimmy Wang Yu stars, writes, directs The Chinese Boxer. Basic storyline here. Tell me if you've heard this one before. You have a martial arts school. Some guy walks in and says, "You're all no good, your style's no good," beats a bunch of the guys up, eventually is bested by the master of said school, and much like the toady in a Grover Dill in A Christmas Story, who once slapped in the face by Ralphie, says, "I'm going to tell my dad." This guy says, "I'm going to come back with karate men from Japan and show you who's boss." And he does. And he beats up everybody and winds up killing the master. Sorry to give away that this is a martial arts film from Hong Kong in the 70s where the master dies and incites more violence. But this is one of those movies where the master dies and incites more violence. Excuse me, I get choked up when I talk about the masters dying because it's such a rare occasion. The karate men from Japan and this troublemaker then set about taking over the town. They set up a casino. It becomes Vice City. Re-enter Jimmy Wang Yu, who's been away for a while. He comes back and what has become of my town? Where is my master? He gets the lowdown and says, "This will not stand." And he begins training. You get the training scenes. He begins training, and then he dons a face mask, which, watching it in, as I record this, 2021, makes him look like the COVID Avenger. It's like a tie-off, like surgical mask that he wears to protect his identity. And the whole time I'm like, he's doing COVID foo. He's the COVID Avenger. So Wang Yu just shows up and starts busting up the bad guy's operation. And it is fantabulous. It is great. There's a sequence in a casino where he's taken on all these guys. It's great choreography. Occasionally a little bit of humor in the foo, but mostly it's just brutal and badass and really well shot and choreographed. This movie's fantastic. Occasionally you get the gore or the violence where somebody will get stabbed and it'll be this is the international ASL for blood spatter. You get the bright jets of blood shooting everywhere. His big nemesis in this movie is played by Leigh, who, funny enough, would go on later to star in a movie that was essentially a remake of this, called King Boxer or Five Fingers of Death, which we'll talk about in a different review for a different product. We're not talking about that. We're talking about Chinese Boxer here. It's really good. This transfer is beautiful. This is a Shaw Brothers movie. Did I mention it was a Shaw Brothers movie? If you don't know Shaw Brothers, I always say they were the MGM of Hong Kong. They were the big grand studio that produced countless classics of the martial arts genre, but also hit all the other genres too. And they had huge studios and a lot of resources and great craftsmen. So there was always a benchmark level of really strong quality in the Shaw Brothers films. So it's thrilling to get this. As I say, the transfer is beautiful. The opening titles to me looked like they might have been recreated, like video generated. Maybe they went back to the original elements and to give this, maybe they didn't have the English titles or Chinese titles. I don't know what it was. Tiny nitpick if that was the case. Either they were recreated or the transfer is so damn good they look fake. Transfer is beautiful. You get Sam Deegan audio commentary, and as I say, if Sam Deegan is doing an audio commentary, listen to it because it's going to give you a great new appreciation for the film and the context and the actors and the themes and all of that. Never hoity-toity and uptight. Always very interesting, very casual. I look forward to it now when I get these 88 Films releases that hopefully there's a Sam Deegan commentary on there. And then you get some interviews, retrospective interviews about the film itself or somebody involved with the film. My notes are not near me, so I can't tell you exactly, but you basically get the commentary, you get some trailers, and you get, under the different titles this film had, and you get the two interviews that are each about like 20 minutes. Slipcase, reversible cover on the normal cover is the newly created artwork by 88 Films. You reverse that, you get the original Hong Kong poster or an international poster for the movie. Wang Yu is a lot of fun. I have only seen Jimmy Wang Yu in a couple of films. I know he had a pretty long career and he was involved with Jackie Chan to a degree, which is cool because Sam Deegan gets into that in her commentary and how Wang Yu is largely responsible for, if not for Jackie Chan's success, for removing some obstacles to his success. And back to those TV spots and trailers and stuff, I'm a sucker for as many trailers as I can get on a disc for older movies. Because I'm always interested in seeing how a film was advertised in different countries, different regions, how much of the original trailer is modified for different regions. It's interesting to see how it was sold in Hong Kong versus how it was sold to American sort of grindhouse or drive-in audiences. You know, the different voiceovers, the different titles, the things like that. Generally, it's always like the same trailer edit visually, but they just change, you know, the audio or titling elements, and then the TV spots, how the film was sold. So yeah, Hammer of God, it makes it sound like it's a movie about Led Zeppelin, but it's not. I found Chinese Boxer. This is really good. Now, I get these movies to review. They're sent to me for free. And sometimes I keep them and sometimes I don't. And it's really just the ones that are movies I think are really good that I want to watch again, that I want to keep. So I guess if I let that slip, an added recommendation is that this is one I'm going to be keeping because this is one that I want to be able to show friends and that I want to be able to go back to time and again. Big fan of kung fu movies, much like I am a big fan of spaghetti westerns, but I will say a lot of them can have a sameness to them. And a lot of times, you know, they're always entertaining to me because the aspects or trappings of the genre I find fun or cozy or interesting. But a lot I'll watch and be like, yeah, that was cool, but I don't need to see it again. Chinese Boxer is one that I do want to see again. So if you like martial arts movies or 70s grindhouse movies or are curious to see what a Shaw Brothers movie looks like, I pretty highly recommend from 88 Films on Blu-ray, The Chinese Boxer.